here on the Upper Room with Joe Kelly. We are featuring the Minneapolis Music Special, and one of the guys I've wanted to talk with for quite a long while, and finally, tonight's the night. He is a multifaceted musician, keyboardist, writer, producer. He's worked with the group Next, Ronnie Lowe, Georgia, Greazy Meal, Sons of Almighty, Estaire Godinez, and Prince and the New Power Generation. And without further delay, we're going to welcome to the Upper Room with Joe Kelly, Mr. Tommy Barbarella. How you doing, Tommy?
I'm great, thanks, Joe.
So you're quite busy. I know that was just a small portion of what you've been working on, but things are going pretty well out in the Twin Cities for you.
Things are cool. Everyone seems to ask me why I'm still here, and why I haven't moved somewhere else.
Right. Well,
like it's better elsewhere.
Right.
But I do love it here. There's a few other pretty successful producers and musicians who have stayed here. I think we all know who they are.
Well, you're originally from Minnesota, right?
Yeah, I'm from St. Paul, so it is home too, and I have a lot of family here.
And you got great studios out there in your own home studio, so it's cool you're staying where you grew up.
I love it. I wouldn't mind living somewhere else for a while too, but I'll probably always come back here as well.
Okay, where would you want to go, or where do you got your eyes on checking out?
Well, there's a couple places. I've always loved London, and I wouldn't mind hanging there for a while. I also love Northern California. Love the Bay Area. But now, after spending a couple months over in Italy for the second time, I don't know, love Italy as well. So there's a few places I wouldn't mind being.
So you went over to Europe and Italy with, believe her name is Georgia, right? Right,
singer is Georgia. Very popular, great singer. And it was a great band. It was most of the New Power Generation. Myself, Michael Bland, Sonny T, and Jeff Lee Johnson on guitar, who worked with us on the Sons of Almighty project. And it was just the four of us, and we had a lot of fun. So
when you get together with guys you perform with a long time, and then work with someone who's kind of out of what you're usually working with, preparing for that, what does it take to get the songs down pat?
Well, this was actually so easy because Sonny and Michael have worked with her for the last several years, on and off. So they know her, they know the book. And I went over there for a month, a year ago, so I got a taste of it as well. So, and then Jeff, we've all worked with, having all worked together, and then most of us knowing the material, it was so easy. And because we all come from the same school, this old school funk thing, it was unspoken. It was like Michael would just look at me, and I'd go, oh yeah, we'll do that. Don't even have to say it. So it was really a pleasure for everybody. We all made each other's jobs a lot easier, and had a lot of fun doing it.
Do you have any favorite rooms out in Europe that you played on this last tour?
There's a few I wouldn't want to go back to. I don't know. It was kind of different because this time we went up into Germany and Switzerland. We actually had a really cool show in London at the Jazz Cafe, and so she's trying to broaden her base. These were places she hadn't ever performed before, so we did more smaller clubs, which was fun in a lot of ways too. But I don't even remember where we played, to be honest. I remember the cities, but that's about it.
So when you're traveling over there, getting the gear, did they hook you up pretty good, or what were you traveling with keyboard wise?
It was pretty basic. No, it wasn't. It's not a big production tour, so it was pretty basic, pretty bare bones. But we made it sound big.
And have you worked on some studio stuff with Georgia?
Very little bit. The last record that she did was produced by Michael Baker, who is, you might know him, is a drummer, musical director from Whitney Houston. He's he's actually also from here in Minneapolis, which is kind of how the whole hookup with all of us got started. He produced her last record, and I actually ended up on one of the songs when I was over there last December playing on it. So Michael Baker brought me in to play on that. And ironically, that was the first time him and I had ever met. And strange because we live in the same city and we're both musicians, but he's always touring so much that it just never worked out. So.
Did he play in Jesse Johnson's band at one point?
No, that's another Michael Baker who's a guitar player.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So this is a drummer who this guy's he's played with Weather Report, a lot of heavy jazz cats.
Okay. Well, out in Minneapolis and St. Paul, the music scene's still going pretty strong, right?
It is, but like I was telling you earlier, I'm not playing so much. The club scene is so tough here. I think it's kind of a trend everywhere right now where these cover bands, not that there's anything wrong with cover bands, but it's kind of cheesy theme bands that do all disco stuff or whatever. They're the big draw right now. And actually here in Minneapolis, since Greazy Meal, there hasn't been a big thing like that since that. But, there's always these things popping up here and there.
What do you think was so special about Greazy Meal and the following that you had on Sunday nights? A night that doesn't really pack people into a club, and you guys filled it up every Sunday.
Yeah, it's everything about it didn't make sense. The Sunday night thing, the big band with 8 people, you just don't hear that anymore. And it was a super group, really. It was, just some of the best players in Minneapolis. And it's hard to explain because it was just one of those things where everything clicked and everything lined up. It was the right time. We were all weaned on 70s funk and 70s pop culture, and I wasn't even in the band when they first started. I went down to see them one of their first shows, and they played a bunch of 70s TV show themes and put them into a medley, like Fat Albert, Sanford and Son, and I was just like, oh my God, this is brilliant, because this was like 96, and the whole 70s retro thing was really starting to kick in at that time, and I was like, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. It's going to be huge, and it was. And then we started doing originals that captured the essence of the covers that we had chosen to do, and then eventually it became an all original show that still maintained the flavor of the covers that we had been doing, like Earth, Wind and Fire, the Hall & Oates, the Bill Withers. At the time they were kind of strange choices for covers that no one around here anyway had been doing. But it was kind of strange too, because one of the stigmas that we couldn't seem to shake was that we were a 70s cover band, because it started out that way, even though a few years later we had 2 original records out, the whole show was original. People still thought of us that way, which kind of hurt. There's also a stigma of being a bar band. When you do play every week or regularly, it's not as special, it doesn't seem that way to people, to record labels or whoever. Like, oh, they're that bar band that plays on Sunday nights. Well, every town has a great bar band that plays once a week.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gotta tell you that I never had the chance to see you play live, but my wife did, and she went to see you in the Montreal Jazz Festival when you played out there. And she was blown away by the performance out there, playing under the rain, right?
Yeah, it started raining.
So Greazy Meal, of course. You still keep in contact with some of the fellas?
Yeah, and in fact, that was something else we didn't talk about. It was, I don't know if you knew about the group The Fuzz.
Oh, yeah, yep.
That was the project Julius and Brian, the singer and sax player from Greazy Meal, put together about a year and a half ago. And I was involved in that and helping them record the record and then play several ill-fated shows.
Why were they ill-fated?
Well, the record is brilliant. I'm very proud of my work on that, and I think the songwriting is great. It was a little different vibe than Greazy Meal in that it was more of a soft rock, 70s soft rock thing, like kind of like a Lenny Kravitz, but a little softer, like America, the group America, or I don't know. And we tried to do the Sunday night thing again, and it was a different venue, and it just never took off.
Mm-hmm.
I think people were wanting to hear Greazy Meal, and it wasn't. It was different, and I don't know. It just, like I said, it was so much the timing with Greazy. It was the timing thing that stars aligned and all that. But
well, you've been busy writing and producing, and one of the artists, young guy, Mason, you wrote a track called Goody Line, and how did that come about, the collaboration with Mason?
Well, Mason had been doing some songs with Michael Bland, and Michael had told me about him, but Mason just called me and wanted to work with me. He wanted to do a track, and he was very focused on what he wanted it and how he wanted it to sound. He had been listening to a lot of Daft Punk at the time, and it came together really easily. And Mason's a great guy. He's great to work with. Great attitude. And he actually I heard from him last night. He just called me. He moved out to L.A.
Mm-hmm. How's things going out there?
He's doing really well. He's putting a band together out there, and he's got some showcases coming up.
Does he got his two-step song together? I know he was telling me about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. He's always on top of the latest things, which is cool. I like working with younger artists who tell me what's happening in the clubs in Paris.
Right. So we're going to check out that track right now. Tommy Barbarella writing for and producing for Mason. And this is called The Goody Line from Mason's CD, Audio Therapy versus Designer Drugs. And my special guest is Tommy Barbarella. And we'll come back more, talk with Tommy about his days with Prince and the New Power Generation and some of the other stuff he's been doing out in Minneapolis, writing commercial music and so many other things. But first, this is Mason and Tommy Barbarella with Goody Line.
And that is Mason with Goody Line, written by Mr. Tommy Barbarella. And Tommy is my special guest here on the Minneapolis Music Special. And Tommy, there's a fantastic new bass player on that one, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Michael B.
Right.
Funking it up on that one.
How about yourself? I mean, you're noted for playing keyboards. Do you dabble with some other stuff?
Yeah, I've been dabbling. I've been doing a lot of dabbling lately, playing a lot more guitar and bass on my stuff, just because with the assistance of Pro Tools and electronic wizardry, it's a lot easier to do it. You can, if you can play a little bit, you can make it work. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It helps out too, but still, it doesn't compare to bringing Sonny T over here,
right.
A real player.
So if you had a big budget and you could add a few things to that home studio, you have any few gear in mind?
Wow. Really, my studio is so happy with it. The only thing I would do, really, the only thing I could do to take it up a notch is to move it into a bigger space where I have some live rooms. Because I don't really have a live room to record great drums or any kind of live session like that.
So do you record differently than the days at Paisley Park with Prince, or you take a few of the stuff over there work-wise and working into your own studio? How do you record mostly?
From a technical aspect?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's all different now because it's all Pro Tools. It's all on hard disk. And, back then it was, everything was still going to tape. So it's totally different. And like I said, the editing capabilities now are just ridiculously amazing, where I can play a guitar part and slice it and dice it, and I can end up sounding like Prince.
Right.
Even though it didn't go down that way. So some call it cheating.
Right.
But I call it good editing. No, it's pretty different. I mean, it's cool in a lot of ways, but in some ways you can get lost. You can get lost in the digital world of micro editing. We talk about this is like newer Steely Dan records and whatnot being Pro Tooled to death. You can Pro Tools the life out of something, When you listen back to older stuff, it's not perfect, and it's so easy. So tempting to make everything perfect in digital recording because you can. But, we know that the imperfections are what give the tracks the character.
Yeah, you got to leave them in sometimes.
Yeah.
So a lot of people know the background of yourself with Prince and the New Power Generation, but if you could give us a synopsis about how you first came in contact with Prince and got into the band The New Power Generation, go for it there.
Well, I had been playing around Minneapolis for a few years with various bands, and in the like 88, 89, I was playing with the Steele family, who have also done a lot of work with Prince, and me and Sonny were in that band, and we were playing pretty regularly with them. They were a big draw to a particular club in Minneapolis, and Prince would often come down to hear us because it was kind of whenever we were playing, it was the hot thing to do. And he'd come down there with Kim Basinger, and he saw me playing with them, and I think he came down because Sonny was playing with them, to be honest. But he first saw me playing with them, and it was kind of strange because people started talking, and everyone kept putting this bug in my ear that he wants you in his band, and he's been asking about you and asking all these questions. He was asking all these deals about me, but it went on for months, and I never heard anything, and I started getting sick of it. It's like, yeah, whatever. But then, and I got called to go out and rehearse with a project he was doing for Margaret Cox called MC Flash, a record that never came out, I guess. But we were rehearsing to go on tour with him, opening for the Nude Tour in '90, and did that. And actually, we didn't end up going out on touring that with that project. We ended up being Mavis Staples' backup band, and opening for about a month of shows on that tour. So that was got my foot in the door. And then, so I was talking about Diamonds and Pearls. We were doing a Flash rehearsal, or a Mavis rehearsal, one or the other. I think it was Flash. And he asked me and Sonny and Mike to stay behind and come in the studio with him to help him finish this song. And it was sounded like a Christmas song, the bridge, and I hauled all my shitty little keyboards in there, and we ended up cutting the song and helping him finish arranging it, and it turned out to be Diamonds and Pearls. And so that was one of the first songs cut for that record, and that was before I was even in his band or anything. And that was pretty exciting, and actually very proud of that song and what we did with him on that song.
Yeah, it's a great record as a whole, too.
Yeah. That's the one from our tenure there. It's the New Power Generation. That's the one that really seems to have stand the test of time well, and the one people everyone kind of likes across the board.
Do you have a favorite tour when you tour with Prince?
That was a great tour. Actually, the most exciting time was the tour we didn't do, was because we didn't do the Diamonds and Pearls tour till like a year after the record came out, and it was in Europe. We'd never toured the States, but that summer, after that record came out, we did a lot of shows around the country, like Jack the Rapper in Atlanta, and we did Arsenio and MTV Music Awards, and that was a really exciting time because it was kind of, at the time it was seen as Prince's comeback, after Batman and Graffiti Bridge. He had kind of slowed in sales or popularity, whatever, but they did a big media blitz, and we did all the shows, and it was just a really exciting time because so many people in the States hadn't seen him. He hadn't performed for, 3 or 4 years in the States, so it was really exciting. And then, like on the Diamonds and Pearls tour, we went to Australia, and he had never been there, and that was really exciting too because he had a hit record, #1 songs, and playing a country where he'd never been. So people went crazy. It felt like the Beatles,
How about the keyboards that you brought on various tours? Did it change over the years with Prince? The setup that you had on stage?
It did change. One thing that definitely changed was like got bigger hard drives as the samples, things got more sample heavy. And then later, we were always upgrading with those latest things that came out. But later when the band got scaled down to just the quartet, the Wurlitzer made the comeback, and that became kind of my main act. Morris was on organ, I was on the Whirly, and I'll never forget that Whirly. I had a pedal board that would put most guitar players to shame. At one point I counted the pedals, and there were over 30.
Wow.
It was just ridiculous. I had the pedal board identical to Prince's for his guitar rig, plus a bunch of other stuff, so a lot of pedals.
So when you decide, who's going to handle what keyboard between yourself and Morris, how does that come about?
At that time, it was pretty. After a while, it became pretty easy, and we knew what we were going to take. He obviously took the organ stuff. I took the more piano, bass parts. He handled the vocal samples. I handled all the other samples. And then as far as other keyboard sounds, that's the only stuff we really had to talk about. But we doubled up on a lot of stuff too, just to make it bigger.
And we're going to listen to a track right now, which Tommy spoke about, how it developed on the Diamonds and Pearls CD from Prince and the New Power Generation. This is the title track featuring the work of Mr. Tommy Barbarella. We'll be back. We're going to talk more with Tommy about some upcoming projects and what's been going on out in the Twin Cities. This is Diamonds and Pearls by Prince and the New Power Generation.
And that's Magic in the Studio. You heard the story on how that song developed from Tommy Barbarella and Prince and the New Power Generation, Diamonds and Pearls. And I want to thank Tommy Barbarella for stopping by the Upper Room on this afternoon, evening. So you're always welcome to come by. I know you're swinging by East a few weeks, right?
Yeah, I should be out there in mid-March.
You have a vacation or some working projects?
It's going to be a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
It's girlfriend's out there for a couple weeks.
Okay.
On a seminar thing, and I'm going to go out and hang with her and take some meetings and hook up with some friends, and
That's cool. I saw another keyboard genius in concert a couple weeks ago out there, Bernie Worrell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So actually, Bernie's been in the studio on my show, brought his keyboards and jammed for a little bit. So yeah, it's a trip.
Cool.
Bernie's cool. So as a keyboard, who's influenced you today? Where you listen to a lot of keyboardists still, or just making your own magic?
Well, it's funny. I was just talking about this the other night, how I was more influenced by other non-keyboard players than keyboard players. I mean, obviously, I listen to keyboard players, but I think my biggest influence, we were talking about Chick Corea earlier, and how I used to listen to a lot of Chick Corea and play his stuff when I was in high school, and was really into that. But as I got older and got more into rhythm and blues and soul music, I found that a lot of the jazz and the heavy fusion stuff I just couldn't relate to anymore. It just didn't speak to me. And I ended up being more influenced keyboard-wise by people like Joe Sample, George Duke, then, because they were saying something that I could relate to, or it's like I could say that. You know, Ricky Peterson, of course, was one of my early idols here in town, and you know, but of course there's big ones like Herbie and Chick and McCoy, but as far as the non-keyboard players, I just found myself drawn more to singers, sax players, and guitar players as far as speaking, you know, being able to speak your voice with your instrument. You know, I have a lot more records by Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye than any keyboard players. And even like Carlos Santana, you know, he moved me. And, you know, pop sax player like, or whatever you want to call him, like David Sanborn, moved me a lot. And it was funny, I don't know, when I was on the tour with Sonny back in November, December, he made a comment like that, how he's like, I just love the way you play, Tommy, because you don't play things like a keyboard player, you play things like a guitar player on keyboard. So, I don't know, I think that's something that makes me sound a little different. I was never able to transcribe a Jeff Lorber solo or a Herbie solo note for note, or I didn't have the patience to do that, so I would just do my own thing.
Another big part of what you've been involved with in Minneapolis is being a top-rate studio musician, and also doing a lot of commercial music, right?
Yeah, I've been doing work at this company called Ashton Spencer Music here in Minneapolis for the last 4 years, I think. Doing a lot of, it's all national TV commercials. And everyone's always like, well, what have you played what did you write that I've heard? And I can never think of anything, but we've done a lot of stuff for, I always say, all the beers and all the cars.
Right.
Volvo, Miller. I did a big Nike spot that I remember aired before the Star Wars, when Star Wars went back in the theaters. I don't know, just a ton of stuff, but that's kind of been a nice gig that you know, pays the bills.
Yeah, that's right.
We actually also have recently branched out to doing movie scores. We scored the new movie called Monsters Ball with Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton. So
getting into the mindset and being creative, writing the film score and the music for that. Do you watch the film prior to it, or just get a little feel on what the scene's gonna be about?
Well, to get the gig, you can't. There's nothing to see yet, and we all read the script. Read the script before, and when we just started writing music, trying to get the gig, and then you get a cut and you write to the cut. But I, to be honest, I didn't do a whole lot of work on that project, but there's another one coming up that I'm probably more involved in. So it's a different mindset, but it's writing the movie stuff is a little more fun than the 30-second TV spots where it's always 30 seconds.
Right. And you're also involved for some upcoming projects and recordings, and we're going to listen to some of the music a little later on. What are some things on tap for you, Tommy?
As a player, there's a CD coming out by our second CD, a group called Movable Feast that I work with. Our second CD, very proud of it. Recorded a lot of it here in my studio. Local Minneapolis original electric jazz group, very high energy. I'm also producing a record for a sax player named Ronnie Lowe, who is in the David Sanborn vein, kind of funky jazz, writing most of that material as well. You mentioned Estaire Godinez, did the song with her. Talked about doing a whole project, don't know what's going to become of that, but
I think she has a live album coming out, right?
Right.
They
did a live thing here. What else? I have a couple songs coming out on a new artist named Yohani. She's from Miami, and that's coming out in in a couple weeks, March. Her name is Yohani. That's one of the songs I think I sent to you.
Okay.
Not her singing, it's another singer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of the songs. What else? There's a young kid here in town named Ryan Listman who I'm going to be producing some songs for. It's like 18 great young reggae-styled singer. And very excited about him. Great singer-songwriter. And who else? Bunch of new artists coming out. M. Spivey definitely will be coming out this year. And that's one of the songs I sent you. A girl named Joya. I'm doing a lot of work on her new record. She's 17. She's from here. Joe Sensor's daughter. He was a football player for the Vikings.
Okay.
And so fingers in a lot of things.
So I guess there is reason why you're probably not going to be able to do a lot of touring with all that.
Yeah, that's just it. It's like I find that I get bored easily now. I want to be more in control and be doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on tour, there's a lot of downtime, and it's harder to get other things done. I've become the king of multitasking, so.
So let's settle it right now. Out of Greazy Meal, I know you're a big physical fitness buff. Who was the best inline skater, you or David Anania?
I think I'm by far the best inline skater.
Uh-huh.
I have the most style, for sure.
You still keep in good shape?
Yeah, I'm not. I was doing a lot of the long bike rides, the Ironmans and the 100-mile rides. But
wow.
I've slipped a little bit, but I'm still doing yoga and, doing the best I can.
And our listeners out there, if they wanted to, there's a few sites you can check out the work of Tommy Barbarella. Of course, you can go to greazymeal.com and dig up on all the history and the music with Greazy Meal, and who knows, maybe down the road you guys might do something.
There seems to be talk of that every 6 months or so.
Okay, so from the land of Minneapolis, where bands get back together after a few breaks, there's always hope, right?
There's always thoughts, yeah.
And you can go to sonsofalmighty.com, where Tommy Barbarella works with a great host of musicians, Michael B., Sonny Thompson, and Jeff Lee Johnson, and Julius Collins. So, a lot of stuff out there, and you've got some great production projects coming along. There's
also a website for Ronnie Lowe.
Oh, that's right. I was on there.
RonnieLowe.com, and there's some little snippets on there of some of the new material.
And people can email you from that website as well, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yep. And Wanted
also
to ask.
Movable Feast website.
That's right. Movable Feast. The record should drop. Any word on when?
It'll probably be the end of March.
Okay.
Probably April 1st. So that's movable-feast.com. I think the website might currently be down, but that'll be up when we get closer to the release for sure.
And I wanted to ask you, before we close out and play a couple tracks you wrote, the collaboration with Estaire Godinez, how did that come about?
Oh, we just have been talking about it for quite a while, because we've done a lot of gigs together, and I was really wanting to do a project like Bebel Gilberto.
Oh yeah, she's in New York this week.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great stuff. Her record came out like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now. It was just my absolute favorite record of the year. I listened to it nonstop, and really wanted to do something like that, combining traditional Brazilian melodies and chords and rhythms with more modern production technology. And that's what we try to do. And it was really hard with our schedules, but we managed to get one tune done.
So we're going to listen to the track Tommy Barbarella collaborated with Estaire Godinez called La Última Canción. It's on the Unsigned Twin Cities project, produced by Jackie Thompson. And then we'll follow it up. I got to end with one of my favorites from Greazy Meal CD, Visualize World, Old Soul Cafe, which you wrote.